Alright guys, we're just starting off with stroking my
So many
ego.
tools that they can work with.
What more could you ask for, Yamato? Are you the same?
I think Unicorns a lot as well, for the same reasons. I think there is some opportunity here when we think of champions that can fit the bill of Ornn. I'm kind of hoping Hanabi brings up his classic gangplank and
Boom! His classic gangplank.
play into a strong side, bot side, make it explosive, unified, and Kaiwing are now together again. Make a game where you play for them and then maybe you have your best chances. But Unicorns of Love, I think, based off of the mold of what they showed in the last game, I think they can continue down the same trend and just, win already in draft unless PSG shows something new.
Hell yeah. All right, well, it does sound...
Alright. Now we stroke my ego. Hello, ladies and gentlemen, everybody else. We are going to jump into a PSG versus UOL review. Let's take a look at the game. Boom. Let's give a shout out to Cathedral. Cathedral was so insanely good at casting, man. What a boss. What a baller, man. Trevor is very, very good at setting people up that have less experience. We have to give him credit there too. I had that experience when I was casting with Mr. Trevor Quickshot Henry. Trevor is very, very skilled at that. Cato was very fantastic, but everyone's calling for him to become a caster, but he's a pro player and he gets paid more. So go convince Riot to pay casters more, and maybe you'll have some Cadro casting. I was just joking, guys. I'm sure Cadro wants to compete. Nevertheless, let's take a look at this draft. Ornn ban, Mordekaiser ban. This was exactly in the same fashion, these three bans, as they did in the first game when it comes to Unicorns of Love. They chose to be blue side because they had the highest seed coming into this game. They beat them and they had the head-to-head against PSG, but with the tiebreak rule and it just being around one single round robin, they didn't want to hold it over people's heads when they had the same scoreline. Because either way it would feel a bit unfair if it wasn't a 2-0, being 2-0 up ahead. Nevertheless, UOL chose blue side. They wanted to continue with the same draft trend. The last time they banned Ornn Mordekaiser, they forced a Camille ban. They chose to ban Evelyn and Nidalee too, and Anasik with very, very high level Nidalee play. I don't know too much about his Evelyn. Did I say Nidalee or Evelyn? High level Nidalee play. I don't know about his Evelyn. I don't think we saw it so far in the tournament, but these two bans prompted the enemy to ban a Camille. And then they went for the first big Renekton exactly the same way as they did in the first game. But the big difference that time around, I don't think necessarily that was like some genius thing to do. Like, it is cool that it worked the last time, but the big mistake they did the last time, PSG, was that they picked Echo and Set, and then they picked Volibear, just a bunch of melee champions into Renekton, making him into a super valuable champion. A very important thing to note, I think in the Playins so far, Senna has been the best performing AD carry. Her win ratio is super good, even though it's a small sample size. From the looks Senna has in the games, I think she's looking like the easiest AD carry to execute. And then the same thing goes for Orianna. Orianna is a safe blind pick and is like the next in line when we think of champions that function like Ornn, right? Ornn is banned, Mord is banned. I was thinking right away about GP, that's why I stroked my own ego. GP is something that works, but the tricky part about GP here is GP wants lanes to play around, right? You want GP to play around bottom side with his ultimate, or play around mid with his ultimate, but PSG's draft with the Orianna and the Lilia, the 2v2 mid, is not that exciting. For what reason? Exactly that reason. They're both magic damage dealers and itemization is too easy. And at the same time, trying to force anything on a Ziggs is very, very tricky. So this was the first three picks. You could even make the argument that they should have gone for the Hecarim. But I think if they go for the Lilia here and then Hecarim is better for this side. So there is some argument here that Unicorns of Love just picked up the Hecarim because they didn't want the enemy to have the Hecarim. Because if the enemy had Hecarim, Senna, Orianna here, it would have been very dangerous. And then that brings up the argument of picking Hecarim instead of the Orianna, or instead of the Senna, is the right choice. That can definitely be an argument that we make here. Nevertheless, we continue. Ziggs gets locked in, so this is of course a flex pick, but it's a champion that does okay into Orianna. Or Ziggs has higher range and it does okay. It is alright. Renekton doesn't make sense though, why ban Ornn? So this was their plan the first game. And the first game it paid off super heavily, but it was pretty obvious to me that PSG are going to adapt that situation. Unicorns of Love was not a team that used Ornn as a crutch. Ornn definitely covers for a lot of weaknesses that teams have, and Unicorns of Love was one of the teams that didn't necessarily need it. I think the same thing can be said for Team Liquid and also for PSG and also for what's the last team? Supermassive. That's the last team. So Ziggs is flex. This is the first three into these three. In terms of quality of champions and in terms of what they want to accomplish, like quality of champions is higher, and the synergy on both sides isn't that crazy good, right? Hecarim and Renekton don't have the crazy good synergy. They both run into similar issues against specific champions. Lilia and Orianna don't have that great synergy either. Rakan gets 4th picked, which is natural. I think the idea here for Unicorns of Love with the Leona and Alistar ban after the Nautilus ban is that they either wanted to pick Bard or they wanted to pick Rakan. So if Rakan gets picked here, they pick Bard. If Bard is picked here, they pick Rakan. And either way, that's a fine way to approach it, because of course red side here can easily 4th pick top and last pick support. So Unicorns of Love are preparing for a situation where they are the ones that of course blind pick support in the shape of Bard or Rakan as mentioned. And then they go Ezreal. And Ezreal we don't mind. Ezreal is alright. Ezreal is a champion that fits every mold. And here you have a composition in the Bard and Ziggs and Ezreal. They can play on distance and can play on poke. But against the Senna, it gets trickier. It's not that easy. But this is a composition that definitely can snowball into the right side's composition. Because the early game options for Lilia are very slim. Lilia can definitely find an invade together with GP, can go into enemy blue and maybe cause some damage, and that's a good way to approach it. You isolate Renekton and then you play into top side to snowball the GP, because GP is strong early game. That is definitely one way to play it, and I think this is something that PSG were looking for in the game. But all in all, the early game fights are going to be easier for Unicorns of Love to pull off, because the synergy between GP and Senna is weird, right? Senna wants to have ult targets in other lanes, and GP the same way, right? This time around though, sure, Lilia and GP can maybe accomplish something. Hecarim is very happy to place into so many squishy targets, but there's so many shields, there's Guardian, there's shields from Orianna, so it's tricky to one-shot something. And this is definitely a composition that with time is going to definitely outscale the one on the left, because they can out-sustain anything that Unicorns of Love is going to throw at them. The poke is not going to be enough unless Bard finds some miracle ultimate in the deep late game. There's not going to be anything good. I don't think there's been a stigma about blind picking supports. I think we see a lot of blind pick Nautilus, a lot of blind pick Leona. So I think you're a bit wrong there in your assessment, Paul Mavronas. I think it's just about preference and how deep your champion pools go and what the enemy shows. I think at this point the draft has evolved to something that is more than just lane phase. Naturally, this is something that everyone thinks about. And when Leona is good into the enemy champions and it synergizes well with the champions that you choose, it's all good. Like Leona is good blind pick when it comes to lane matchups, but if you have it together with too many AP champions, Mercury just fucks you over, alright? Ezreal is one of those champions that is almost always good. Ornn is one of those champions that is almost always good. Almost. Orianna is also one of those champions. There's not a lot of those champions. Maybe Senna is also one of those champions that belong in that category. GP ult. So a big conversation here is like GP is strong, right? GP can easily deal with Hecarim and Renekton in fights, and then they can just play on kiting and so forth. I think GP, if we think of the Liandry's build, Liandry's is not super exciting in this game because the enemy team has a decent amount of mobility, right? Against teams that have mobility, you don't want to put that much power into your ultimate. Like Liandry's is still going to be like an okay item in this game, right? When Hecarim and Renekton commit, and then maybe you ult on top of them. But it's all about, you know, are you going to put all of your power into your ultimate? I understand that Madness gives you 10% damage and increases all of your damage, except of course the true damage from your slice. Is an Ashe better than Senna? Well, not in play-in so far. I think lane phase has been so irrelevant between a lot of these teams that Ashe to me is not that high prio. When it comes to you know, highest level of play, if Ruler has Ashe, it is going to make a difference in lane phase, right? When it comes to this level of play, Ashe is very impactful, so we just have to pay attention and see how it's going to progress, if this is the same trend for all of the World Championship teams. Anyhow, what I'm trying to look for is tournaments, and then currently a World Championship play-in. So we just look at some of these win ratios. They look quite juicy. So we look at the champions, trying to find the list. Sorry, champions is the list, and then tournament, World Championship. So Orianna 7-0. That's a pretty fucking big deal. Of course, this is a small sample size, so we take this with a grain of salt. We take this together with the information that we have from watching the games. Keep this in mind, right? But Orianna winning all games is pretty interesting because Orianna gets picked very often early in drafts. Like Orianna is a champion that almost always finds impact, or in the same way, Obviously, these champions require additional pieces. Usually, the smarter teams are the ones that are picking Orianna and Ornn. So I remind you once again, we are taking these statistics with a grain of salt. It is a very, very small sample size, and this alone shouldn't make you jump to any conclusions. I repeat, this is not enough for us to jump into conclusions. This is just additionally with the ideas that we have from watching the games, right? The win rates alone are completely meaningless, right? This doesn't mean first pick Orianna at all costs, right? This doesn't mean first pick Orianna at all costs, but it's showing a bit of a trend that we see here, right? Senna is winning out a lot of the games as well. I think in the action that I've seen her, she's just easier to execute, right? Lucian is at a 50% win ratio. Bad teams have picked Lucian as well, so I don't think Lucian is easy to judge through play-ins. Twitch, basically the only games that were won was the Gadget Miracle and Team Liquid. The other three were losses where teams tried to copy Team Liquid and ran into a wall. And then Rakan, his losses were exactly those teams trying to copy Team Liquid and running into a wall. So Rakan is also looking quite strong. At the bottom, who's at the bottom? So Casio, 1 game, loss. Brom 0-2, Zig 0-2, and then we have a Silas on 0-4. But the opportunities where Silas got picked was so far control. And here we have a Volibear on 0-4 too. Once again, like LGD, I think played Volibear twice. So it's like how do we judge this, right? Even though I don't think Volibear is that great of a champion. Zoe, it's like Mad Lions have played it and ran it down, right? It's like it's tough to judge. Ashe, once again, statistics are not good enough to jump to conclusions, but it's like an interesting exercise, right? I don't think Ornn is underrated. It's not overrated in play-ins because Ornn is actually winning games with teams, right? Ornn is actually winning games with teams. Because in play-ins, teams need that crutch. Especially a team like PSG that have subs and all. When it comes to team fighting, Ornn is like a rallying cry that everyone goes around, you know? It's the same like Sion ult. It's so easy, like, oh, our Sion is ulting, we're gonna go in, right? It's such a the engage of an Ornn really, you know, rallies everyone in your team around it. So you assume that Ornn priority will drop in groups? I think a little bit, but at the same time, it will be very relevant. It's good. Is it okay to pick Ori Ornn as first 2 on red side? I think it's okay if you have a deep champion pool on your bot lane, or if you have a small champion pool on your top and mid. Like Orianna and Ornn already set your composition up for something pretty. But at the same time, if you don't have a jungler that is going to go along with it, for example, if you have Graves, Orianna, Ornn, that is a fantastic draft in almost every scenario. Your odds to win the game is going to be pretty solid. These are champions that do pretty well in almost every situation, and it just comes down to play. Ornn is a fantastic champion. Nevertheless, this is the scaling team. This is a team that should be stronger in early game and have more options. This team with time will be better. The poke of Ziggs and Ezreal shouldn't be enough to crack a Senna and an Orianna. The tricky thing later on is Hecarim will have a hard time bursting any one of these targets because Rakan's going to E, it's going to be Guardian, there's going to be Senna E, there's going to be Senna Q, there's going to be Orianna E. Very easy to deflect any potential like all-in effort unless a beautiful Bard ultimate lands. So Bard is always a champion that scales super well in the game, because his ultimate is always so goddamn powerful. You can burn flashes. Fantastic, you mean most broken kit champ? Yeah. Graves, Ori, Ornn wasn't that Team Liquid game 2. That was Team Liquid game 2. It's a very fluid composition and is probably like the dream in the Playins meta right now. You put a Senna in there and another champion, and you have like Exodia comp in Playins right now. I'm sure we're going to see some things different in Worlds, but ease of execution is something that we should highlight when it comes to some of the low-rated teams, and that's what we have in Playins, right? And I want to take away from any of the teams here, because this is the strongest Playins we've ever seen, and we might have a situation where, imagine a team like Unicorns of Love land in a group together with what's it called? They land in a group together with Machi, which we don't know about too much in terms of power level, especially after the PSG and Suning as well. Unicorns of Love might take some best of ones over them, right? Unicorns of Love is a very spicy team that can figure out some unique things in drafts and definitely have players that can do some good stuff. Right, so that can be a very interesting group right off the bat if Unicorns of Love get out. And then my prediction that G2 is going to get first is going to be tougher to make, because the nature of G2 and best of ones is honestly a rough one. But anyway, enough about the draft discussion. Let's continue into the game. Yeah, Lucian, Camille, Evelyn is also like Exodia. It's also super good. Unicorns of Love is a very uncomfortable team to play against. Is Sheepy doing some cultural appropriation? No, I'm just kidding. I'm memeing, guys. I'm memeing. It's a cool garb, man. I would like to have a garb like this. I've looked into it, but I just couldn't find the right words to find it, because it looks kind of sick, man. Jankos predicted UOL to be super good. Man, Jankos only predicted that because he heard everyone else say it, man. He barely knew the names of the fucking teams. He barely knew the names of any teams when they were doing the draw show, man. Sometimes I think Jankos is using all of his brain power to jungle good. Wait, what on earth is this music? Oh no, we're gonna get copyright struck, man. No, no. How do we... what on earth? Why is it through fire flames? What the... It's not in the playlist. Where did that come from, man? What? If you have Camille, Lucian, Eve, do you not have weak frontline? This idea of frontline is so silly. Like, Eve, Camille, Lucian don't need a frontline. They don't need they don't need a frontline. They're very mobile. They can fend for themselves. Thank you so much, Swag Buckler. Thank you so much, Swag Buckler. I appreciate it. Pretty sure Dragon Force allows you to stream. Okay, cool. Cool, Dragon Force. Appreciate ya. So no level 1 invade from PSG, which was kind of surprising because that could be like super good. Like imagine PSG like divide the map. That could be like super legit. Super legit. Gangplank does pretty well against Renekton early levels. Yeah, like the draft that R7 had against Unicorns of Love was a beautiful draft. Team Liquid draft, Supermassive draft, and an R7 draft was some of the nicest drafts all day. Thank you. You'll earn my prime. Okay. Thank you, Dave Fiji. What's Vol Yamato? What is Vol Yamato? Yeah, Unicorns of Love drafts were also quite nice. Isn't GP very good against enemy comp? Well, the enemies are quite mobile, right? The enemies are quite mobile. Like Ezreal can get out of GP ults, right? But GP ult is so powerful that you know, when spells begin to be used, you just need to hold on to GP, and GP can always find value, right? I think it means UOL Yamato. Oh, very funny, dude. Kongyu gets smacked on the noodle, burns his flash, and Nanasik uses Ghost, but he has the benefit of picking up some chickens. Some nice chickens. Yeah, the Hecarim pick is good. The Renekton pick is a bit odd. Like, it worked the first time around. It worked the first time around because the enemy just full drafted melee champions, and then they just went for the same thing again, expecting that they wouldn't adjust anything. This time around, like, playing Renekton against this team composition is very, very hard. Like here, it's a proper response to Renekton. Ananasik. This is a proper response to Renekton, not like the first game where they picked 4 melee champions into Renekton. But Kongyu, the fact that he got pretty jungled here, it became an issue for GP. Because I think just not invading was a mistake. They could have divided the map into top side and be very happy. They didn't. They chose to go blue because honestly, blue side right now, considering you get to choose jungle first, I think blue side is pretty good. I think for teams that play Graves and Italy, it's good to be blue side. I heard that Renek plus AD jungle is bad, but I don't know why. Well, these two champions, like, they don't synergize well because it's easy to buy armor into it, but in this case, enemy is GP top, it's not an Ornn, right? So it's not as horrible as the last time. Here, Bard is moving, and it was a bit of an overcommitment. Like, Kongyu doesn't have flash, and they know Bard is moving. Look how fast Bard is, right? Bard is already moving. Bard is moving in unison with the gank, which is very, very nice. This is something that you can do as a supporter too. Rakan is moving too. He has a crab move speed, but here, just timing of Santa's, it just makes them win out here, and Ziggs gets the first blood. And this is the beginning of the snowball, right? We know that PSG want to scale in this game, but making trades like this is definitely not good. In a lot of matchups, when you have mana against non-mana champions that have sustain, thinking Renekton and of course Vladimir, not basing earlier before the lack of mana is going to kick in is usually a mistake. Yeah, the Bard portal was huge. Look at him float away, man. He's very, very quick into mid. I think top lane, trying to think of which role was the least impressive in the tournament, and maybe top lane. But it's hard to say. It's hard to say. Because top lane, there was some good ones too, like Impact and Armut. Hanabi was decent. Support, we have Kai Wing, we have Ko JJ, we have Snowflower. Mid, maybe. Uniboy has been good. No Man's has been good. And then Jensen has been alright. Jensen has been good. Maybe mid has been the weakest. Or like, not the weakest, but like the least impactful role. Just a little chill phase during the time that both junglers are getting level 6. Yeah, Shia definitely screwed over my fantasy league, man. No one's got stumped by Shia today? Yeah, sure. Sure. This was very nice. Very, very nice. It's difficult to find opportunities like this, and doing it through lane when you know that the map state is not in your favor is a clever way of jungling. Looking for lane ganks, trying to find a kill before the enemy can really react is very, very good. Winner of LGD versus R7 plays against the second seed of the other group. Do you think most of the playing games have been stomps? Yes. Yes, no. I want to take a look as to why the turret was so low in the first place. Because Hanabi needed to base over the kill, and then Renekton went on top. And then Hanabi waited so long to TP back. Nomads gets so much damage onto the turret with his passive. His passive cooldown goes down when he Qs and E's. And that makes this TP topside worth it because Anasi is ready to farm it out in mid. And then the Rift Herald lands, and the situation where Hanabi dies turns into a disaster pretty quick, but maybe this is something that they can secure anyway, because Bard has full freedom to rotate, and Hecarim 6, and Ziggs is stronger than Orianna at this point in time, so maybe this is something that would have been secured regardless. But then the question is it good to even use Rift Herald, because you have Ziggs, right? You have Ziggs, Renekton into mid now, also no TP now. Pretty heavy swing here. I don't think he has Luden's Echo, right? If he has Luden's Echo, that's mad. But I don't think he has Luden's Echo. Wow, that's mental. That is actually mental, man. That's super, super good. But PSG getting the Drake here is also quite juicy. Because Anansi has no reason to stick around. Anansi has no reason to stick around, and he could definitely rotate into mids, and they could potentially defend the Drake, because even though Ziggs is up here, so is the GP, and you know, the GP doesn't have TP either. Just giving up the Drake is definitely going to slow down the Soul Dragon, and this is going to be so impactful after the fact. Thoughts on Warrior first, not Trinity on Hecarim? I think it depends on your items. I mean, not items, it depends on your base timings. Depending on your base timings, you differ and shift your build around. Like here in this case, there's a lot of squishy targets on the enemy, so just pure AD honestly puts a lot of these champions in one-shot range. Maybe it's specific technology, like it's maybe a specific dark technology into Lilia, because maybe you have enough burst to just pop her here. Warrior just makes you so squishy. Well, it's not like Trinity Force makes you into a super tank, right? Thank you very much, Denial 311. Yeah, I don't like the fact that they gave the Drake there. And Unified gets smacked on the head. Good tempo on this one. I think Kaiwing didn't know where to be, and just the fact that Ziggs has a Luden's Echo started with the kill, and then the Rift Herald into top. Maybe they could have defended the Drake, because PSG actually didn't. PSG actually didn't, you know, start the Drake right away. 131 is basically there because Dragon Soul exists this year. Not necessarily. I think people misunderstand 131 very, very much. 131 is not the same as split pushing. 131 is what you do when you want to farm efficiently. It rarely has to do with the condition of like winning the game through split. 131 is just the basic way of playing the game in most cases. It has nothing to do with like split push pressure and taking towers. Split push pressure sometimes is 1-1-3, right? Like you have TF on the side hovering on your Camille, and junglers playing on side trying to pick up frags and using the fact that the enemy team needs to group up and just decimating them like this. This is something that is a bit worse because of Soul Drakes. But 131 is, you know, it's the basic game, basic level of a game. Stop saying that UOL doesn't scale. Ziggs and Ezreal are some of the best scalers in the game. Who's saying that they don't scale? In contrast to Red Side just scales better. I think they just mean that the one side scales better. I don't think everything scales. You know, minions scale. Why isn't Nunu played in pro play? I really don't know, man. Jungles that I work with just fucking don't want to touch the champion, and I think Nunu is legit, man. Elise doesn't scale. Well, she has scalings, right? Everybody scales. Some just need a little help. So now GP is in a super fine state. I don't think Renekton is going to find too much pressure in the 1v1. But UOL kept using the pressure into bottom. Luden Zeko Ziggs just has so much mid prio. Super important kill here for PSG. Anything that slows down the bleed is going to be super helpful. Even though the gold lead is 3000 in Unicorns of Love's favor, all of that lays in the hands of Ziggs, most of it. GP is in a super good state in his lane, and that's something that he's super happy about. I like the move from Unicorns of Love as well to just keep Ziggs into the bottom side and play through bottom side and just look for the turret break, because they just got additional platings. Like, this gold lead is just, majority of it is a majority of platings is what I will try to say. I'm very tired, guys. I apologize. So I'm spacing out sometimes. You lost versus Pokemon? What does this mean? Isn't LGD's... Isn't LGD's coach called Pokemon? GP goes Yumus this game. Well, I think it's a bit of a coin flip, but considering Ezreal didn't go Gauntlet, Ziggs is not gonna buy armor, and his team is very AP heavy. I don't think it's too terrible. Like, his team is very AP heavy, right? And if you consider the purchase of Liandry, the hope is that Kongyu is going to apply a lot of that Liandry burn himself. I think Yumus is completely understandable here. It's just the Senna AD carry, right? They are not so... They're pretty AP heavy. NA is Giga Trash. You are asking so much off-topic questions and you're writing so many off-topic things. Try to keep it on topic, and that's the game in front of us. Otherwise, I'm going to tell you straight up that I'm just going to start to ignore your messages. And that's, you know, I don't want to be rude. Ziggs has done some heavy work with his W. Heavy work. Like, that snowball and the goal that he got on Ziggs, like, that Luden Zeko was one of the earliest Luden Zekos I've ever seen. It was such a big deal because it set him up to die bottom, and this Ziggs has just gone around the world to break towers left and right, and now he's sitting on the Spellbinder. Do you coach people who are not pros? Not much, honestly. I think there are better people suited for that. That's like some certain simple concepts that I haven't gone through the motion of explaining to people. Like, if I coach someone in bronze, I probably could help them, but I'm sure people in bronze can get help from a lot of people, and my time is very very limited, so you'll be alright. Is it fine to go DD on GP as a second item in this game? Like, it's okay-ish, considering the enemy should look to dive you as much as possible. Look at that ninja tabby getting value, right? Imagine this is Evelyn instead of the Hecarim or a Lilia. Maybe, you know, GP doesn't have a ninja tabi, and you might be able to put him in some kind of kill range. That's why you want to stay away from like things like Renekton and Hecarim together. Having no ultimate. And this was a very nice deflected dive from PSG. This gives them a lot of breathing room. That's what we have to look out for. Always breathing room, breathing room, breathing room. What do you think of Pro full clearing on Eve taking 4 minutes? Is it really slow? Really? Who takes 4 minutes? I think I saw Malice do something like 3:14 or some shit. I like the Malice clear speed videos. Like, who the fuck is full clearing in 4 minutes? Alice is good, but some NA pros taking 3:45. Take care, Endeavors 4. Evelyn's in pro play rarely get punished if the draft fits the bill. I think he went for Spellbinder because he just wanted to continue to snowball, and his like the way you continue to snowball is like on every base you just want to be as strong as possible, and Spellbinder is not a bad item if you lead it up with a death cap too. Like the death cap numbers are going to be so juicy, and Spellbinder, when you combo with Ziggs, it's not bad, right? You throw all your spells on Spellbinder and the item path is easier. Like there was 2 bases that Ziggs had, right? I don't think Morello's that terrible this game. Morello's alright. I'm not sure about the Black Cleaver Senna, but I think she's just buying it for health, honestly. I think here PSG made a lot of mistakes. Like they are so indecisive about how they want to play around this Drake. And Nasik's positioning is very, very good. He waits patiently and hides, and then goes for the right moment. Hanabi gets knocked in, and this is super, super cool. Very, very nice for Renekton to play like this. I appreciated this. Nanasi was very, very smart in his approach here. And no one's so fed, and Ezreal is quite strong too, that the poke is actually relevant. It will be less and less relevant with time. Only tricky thing about Morello is that odds are you're not going to get that much value out of spell penetration this game, because the enemy team is going to buy magic resistance most likely. Like, it isn't terrible, there is healing here. But I think Spellbinder into Deathcap is just Pog. I think also Leandri's is not bad, but it's just tricky, right? It's just tricky when you have a Lilia, because Lilia applies the burn. Like, people need to understand that the burn is not applied by... cannot stack. The burn doesn't stack. Like, you can't have 5 Leandris on your team and stack the burn. Madness works for everyone. Madness? This is Sparta! It's just... when you have Lilia, in most cases she applies a passive by herself, right? GP Leandris here would be really good. I don't know if I agree. Like, you're putting a lot of power in your ult and the enemy team is not that immobile. You can still get a lot of value from your ultimate, but physical damage is going to be clutch. Yeah. I like the U moves. Like, GP needs to do the physical damage and he has targets to punch into. Like, Morello gives a lot of value. Like, if the enemy were not mobile, I think Morello would still be good, even if they had MR. But the problem here is they are quite mobile. Like, Ezreal can get out of it, Ziggs can get out of it. Sure, you can hold it and get value out of it, but I like the Yumos here. This was a good play too, right? PSG's odds of doing Nash is non-existent. I think pressuring into bottom side is quite juicy. And it's cool that Unicorns of Love realize that they don't need to pressure Nash at all. Like, the enemy has no pressure over it and they can just stay in Fog of War and play around it. I think Ziggs was... like, this lead, majority of it landed on Ziggs. It was the Bard roam into mid, the first kill that made Ziggs have lost chapter over Orianna, allowed him to free push, he TP'd top, no problem. Orianna based, Hecarim caught mids and then into top side. Just the biggest issue is just that PSG had this Infernal. Imagine Unicorns of Love had this Infernal. The win percentage... the percentage chance of victory is going to be so high. So high. I feel like Ezreal didn't do shit this game. Some games, people are not going to do shit. It's just the nature of the game. Sometimes champions aren't central pieces in what's going on, and that's okay. Why is AP jungle valued so highly? Because AP jungle item is so fucking busted. And also Nidalee is strong, and Evelyn is strong, like Lilia is strong. They're strong champions. I don't know what I think about Lilia though. Like, I'm super hyped on Lilia when I see, like, you know, some of the LCK teams play it, some of the LPL teams play it. But I'm still not so sure about the champion itself. I feel like I don't know enough about it. Why is Hurricane not a thing on Senna? People have bought it. People have bought it, bro. So this is the magical moment, right? So they go for GP, but Ezreal is on the other side of the map. There's no reason to go for this. This was very, very disappointing. The issue here, like, if Ezreal's here, all good. If Ezreal's here, all good, right? But not only Ezreal is not here, like, PSG are all first. Like, they're already hovering in the bottom side. And they have no reason to go for this. Imagine now... Okay, let's imagine a world Hecarim is not... Imagine Hecarim is here, right? And everyone hovers into here. They cleared this pink. They cleared this pink. And they pressure Nash. Could be interesting. Yeah, the cool thing about Hurricane Senna is that you apply... You steal souls from everyone doing percentage damage. Yeah, this was just completely unnecessary. And Ziggs comes so late into this situation, and Uniboy does the game-winning move here. Like, he just straight up kills the Ziggs. And Ziggs had flash, and Ziggs had no idea what happened to him. He just got fucking popperonied. Look at there, you can see when no man's HP goes down that he's getting Orianna ulted. Just PSG have priority into bottom side. If you outrange enemies without rapid fire cannon, there's no reason to buy a rapid fire cannon. And Nomans was definitely playing some solitaire here. Some big int moments for Nomans throughout this. Like, sure, he eat into the wall boss here, but I don't think it would have mattered. It was just a horrible play, like Ezreal was top. Yeah, the Black Cleaver Senna, I think he just wants HP. He just wants HP. Yeah, this is a massive throw. Massive throw. I don't think that needs to be said. Everyone's so healthy as well because of Senna. I think there's a world where Ziggs does enough burst to get it, but he just did it too soon. And then now, the game is honestly lost, man. Like here, in this moment, I agree Morello is not that great of a purchase. In this moment, I agree. Like, I understand why he would do it, but getting Morello third is pretty awkward. Like, here you need to go death cap. I thought he bought Morello second. Just Morello third is a bit weird. Because keep in mind, he's buying a full one. Like, man's rich. He's not buying it for the penetration. He's buying it for the health down. What is the difference between it being second item and third item? Is because now, ideally, when you buy setups, in most cases when you play AP champions, you want to have death cap on 3 items. You want to have death cap on 3 items because the increase of damage and the breakpoints you are on are just so important. Is Leandri's Orianna bad? No, but there is a Leandri on Lilia already. Health down? Well, I don't know what the fuck I said, man. Yeah, I'm tired. I'm tired, Shanti. So yeah, I'm saying some silly shit, man, but just bear with me. Not everyone is rich, Yamato. Some have Ramadan, some have Morelos. But bro, a lot of people that are rich in people's eyes just know how to save. Like, Morello is pretty fucking... Is a pretty fucking good guitarist, man. Pretty insane guitarist. Bow wow, bow wow, no, but Morellonomicon is expensive. How's this cheap? 3k. It's a... The gold difference is 600. The point being is why I find Morello third to be not that amazing is because first and foremost, the next dragon is not that important, right? The next Drake is not so important. I would have kept orb yet finished death cap, but he didn't have an orb. You can't give them soul point. Why not? Who cares? You're gonna be stronger than them at soul point. It's such a myth, man. It's another one of those things that just feel good. Like, if you're gonna be much stronger by the time Soul Drake hits, if you execute better most of the time, you're gonna be better off. Sure, it puts you in an awkward spot where you can't make mistakes. But what, you're gonna play around the fact that you make mistakes? Yeah, but if Drake gets stolen, you're doomed. Yeah, well... game is finished after 2 Drakes. Like, it's just another one of those things that feel good, right? Did you just call Skarner a she? It's just, there's 2 schools of thoughts, right? Yeah, they need to prevent soul point. Like sure, I understand there is an effect. There is a chance of steals happening. There is a steal of chance, but that percentage can be lowered. This is a fight that doesn't need to happen, right? Tell it to Rogue who got Elder and Soul stolen when they're 6k in lead. And you think they play that good? Like, it's not an argument. It's not a valid argument that you're presenting. Like, I understand that there's a chance of steals happening, but depending on the level of the team, a team that sets up a good Nash when they are stronger than the enemy are going to do so in a way where the enemy can't steal it. They're not gonna fucking burger flip the game, right? Here, the thought process for Morello is plain and simple. Like, if you buy Morello here, it means that you want to fucking all-in, balls to the walls fight on this Drake. That's what Morello is. Healing reduction is good, and that's it, you know? PSG are in the mindset that they win this fight and they win the game or some shit. Grievous Wounds is useful. Grievous Wounds is useful. It's all about like what comes after the fact, right? They went hard on this fight or went hard on this ocean, and they are still in a winning position. So there's 2 schools of thought. The thing is, healing reduction is clutch here. I think Senna should be the one with healing reduction, but like I don't think like Morello is such an expensive item to get for healing reduction, and coming out of base, she just couldn't afford healing reduction, and that's it. They just thought, let's just fucking get healing reduction, and that's it. Senna couldn't afford it. Like there's just a lot of schools of thought here, right? Obviously, Executioners most of the time is better than committing so far to buy Morello. Morello is like something that you want to update, upgrade pretty late into the game. If we look at it from the perspective of, oh, none of us can afford Executioners, I have money for Morello, let's go hard into this fight. GP is alright. I mean, Morello's alright. Really. it's all about like how they review the game. Like, if we look at their decision, PSG are still winning the game right now, right? Thank you very much, the Kire. It's not like anti-heal is necessary at this point. Like, what? Well, anti-heal is pretty decent against this team. Like, you get value for anti-heal, you know? It's not like you have to in order to win fights, but it's good. Like, anti-heal is not bad against this team. Like, Hecarim's only really survivability here is his healing from his W. The only survivability here from Renekton that doesn't have a lot of armor or anything is literally on his life heal and his Q. I'm not saying they're gonna lose a fight because they don't have healing reduction. We're just discussing the thought process here for PSG. I like the double. I like the double large rod. I like the double large rod. I would recommend to my mid laner to get the double large rod here, and that's it. You know, double large rod and then elixir, and you're popping, right? It costs exactly the same as Morello. Like you get 120 AP and elixir, and boom, it's the best buy. Just to make it clear, I think this is the best buy. Large rod, elixir. Just to make it giga clear. We're just discussing items. It's also strange to say that Morello scales really well, because there are other items that scale better. Like, for example, flat penetration doesn't scale like amazingly well. It's alright. The ability power is rather low on Morello. Like, Grievous Wounds in itself scales within the game. You get more value from it later on in the game, right? Grievous Wounds. So let's just separate Grievous Wounds from Morello, right? Because this shouldn't be the same. With Orianna current build, she can one-shot Ziggs, Ezreal, and Bard Ezreal. No, she can't. She literally can't. Like, she doesn't do that much damage here. She's a beefy robot with HP. Well, fuck HP, man. Large Road, Elixir would be the most powerful buy. Really? The reason why Banshee is pretty cool against this team is like, it's pretty decent against Bard. It's pretty decent against Bard. Would Essence Ryu be better than Ghostblade here? The item path to Essence to Yumos is easier, and buying crit is a bit of a flipper. Like, it's like, look at the itemization of the enemy team, right? They don't have any armor item except the little shield on Ezreal. They literally have no lifesteal. That's untrue. They have some lifesteal. I think Banshee was okay. Like, Deathcap 3rd was the item to go for, and then Void Sap 4. 100%. Banshee is alright. Liandry 2nd is alright. Like, I think Banshee, Liandry, both of them are good purchases. And then Deathcap 3rd for sure. Like, you need Rabadubia here. The 3k gold base was double large rod into Elixir if you wanted to be as strong as possible coming out of base. That would give you 170 AP alone, and that's fucking nuts. With the true damage proc for the same price of a Morello. So you would have double AP, even more than that, right? For the price of Grievous Wounds and 15 Spell Pen. But the enemy team has some magic resistance to throw around here, so it's alright. Once again, I would buy double large rod Elixir. So usually if there's a better purchase, then yeah, the other purchase is bad, right? Usually there's only one like correct purchase. Yeah, Spellbind the second is also right, for sure. It always depends on your base timings, right? It depends on his base timings. Like, if you can squeeze a large rod, Spellbinder is cool, but he base time on Fiddish Codex and things like this, right? 1250 is sometimes hard to achieve, especially when you're playing the game on the back foot and the enemy team is pressuring you for 26 minutes. So that's my thought process on it. But okay, let's continue. We spoke about this at great length. I repeat, Liandry's, the debuff doesn't stack. Lilia is a champion that applies it. So the argument for a Liandry's on Orianna or Liandry's on GP becomes slightly worse, even though the madness buff in itself is giga OP. Second item, I would accept Liandry, I would accept Spellbinder, I would accept Banshee. Third needs to be Deathcap, and then fourth needs to be Void. But Banshee is cool because it denies Bard. It denies Bard quite well. And as we mentioned before, Bard is the only hope later on in the game. If Bard doesn't land the great ultimate, there is no chance of Unicorns of Love winning a fight. We spoke about this in Champion Select. Just that now when you look at the full completed items of Orianna, it looks pretty Boris, you know? Is Void useless early? It depends. Like, if enemy is buying Negatron Cloak on every base, then obviously Void Staff is fantastic. If the enemy has Maw of Mortius, second item, Void Staff can make sense. If like the enemy is Lucian, he's buying Maw, or like laning against a Z mid, and he's going Maw or whatever. Does Banshees not lose a lot of value this game because it gets popped by Ziggs and Ezreal so easily? Well, not necessarily. It depends on what you're doing within the game, right? Boris, yeah, we call, the League community now calls the shopkeeper Boris. I think Eres invented Boris. Could you explain why trying to end the game with Ziggs TP is worse than contesting Baron? I don't recall. Honestly, I was like falling asleep on my sofa, so I don't remember what happens in this game. But yeah, I think giving up that Infernal Drake also wasn't spoken enough. Like losing that Infernal Drake is such a big deal. Like, if they were sitting on this Infernal Drake, the game would have looked very, very different. Orianna's build makes the team scale worse, and you can argue the same for this Black Cleaver Senna, but the Black Cleaver Senna, I get it. Like, in a lot of cases, the people that buy Black Cleaver, they don't do it for the purpose of, like, reducing armor on the enemy, because stacking with Senna is fucking slow, man. You shoot with Senna, and then Q, and, like, you don't apply Black Cleaver stacks quickly. Most of the time it's for the move speed, for the cooldown, and you get it for the HP. Right? That's why you get it. It's hard to argue that you do get it for the damage, because you get higher damage from other items, but you just get it for the HP and the move speed of, like, you auto and then you get move speed. And then it's an item that has 20% whatever. Like, of course, if she's active in a fight, she can eventually stack it up, but you're mostly buying Black Cleaver for the purpose of move speed, HP, and CDR. Indeed, yes. Q auto or 6 Black Cleaver stacks? Really? 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 It applies double. Really? Oh, this I didn't know. Wouldn't be better Trinity? No. But isn't it on... Chakras tweets it. Let's just open Chakras then. Chakras. Bro. No, but you guys are talking about the passive auto, no? That passive auto has a cooldown, no? Yeah. Look. This has a cooldown, guys. Senna's basic attacks on hit and damaging abilities on enemy champions apply mist. If Senna starts winding up a basic attack on them, if Senna applies mist to the same target twice, she collects it. So it has cooldown. Let's go practice too. Because I thought it's 4. I thought it's 4. Someone said 6. That's what's confusing. Oh, you mean this? Oh. Senna basic attack deals on hit. I didn't think this is on hit. I thought this is additional damage. Oh, this is what I've missed. Okay. Okay. This is the one. This is the one. This is the one we're looking for. Let's just double check it to make sure. I thought this was like Zaya, you know? I thought it's like Zaya W. Zaya creates a storm of blades for 4 seconds that grants her bonus attack speed and causes her basic attacks to strike the target an additional time for 20% damage. But the game thinks that the auto does 120%. Okay. Well, then it isn't too shabby. Well, now I kind of want to try Zaya. Just to make sure that I'm not talking complete crazy here. Oh, my runes are terrible. Doesn't matter. They're building runes because of that, I think. No, well, it is good for runes, and also Mormana is really good with runes, and also you steal souls with runes. Like looking at this, right? Senna, like even this alone is super strong. The fact that you apply mist and then you, based on target's current health, you do bonus physical damage. This also applies on Runan's Hurricana, so that's super cool. Is there ever a situation you don't build mana immune on Senna when you play support? Can we compare this to Mundo passive real quick? Yeah, Runans also reduces your... Like, you have so many on-hit effects on Senna. I didn't even realize that the 20 bonus damage was on hit effect. Let's get myself some money. I need some money. Give me some money. Add gold. Let's fucking... Let's just buy this and then also this. Just to make everyone upset. Okay, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay. I don't know why I did the 6. Let's remove turret shots. Third shots, toggle. Okay. W on. It actually applies too, man. It applies too. Or was it because of the feather? I need to check now if it was because of the feather. It wasn't because of the feather. No, it wasn't because of the feathers, guys. Please buy attack speed, it's so tilting. I kind of wanted to make it intentionally tilting, sorry. But anyhow, yeah, I thought Hurricane was good enough already because of this on-hit effect, and also I didn't know that this was on like this part Relic Cannon was also on hit. That's pretty good. Yeah, don't buy Black Cleaver on Zaya, guys. I was just curious. Why Trinity is bad? Because of the mechanic that her base AD is really trash. So okay, we look at level 18 Senna, her base AD is 50. What? So Trinity Force this is the worst champion in the game to buy Trinity Force on, because it doesn't scale at all with levels. She gets her 80 from souls, right? That's the whole point of the champion. Yeah. That's why, for example, Thresh as well, right? Karma Trinity is okay. Karma Trinity Force is alright. People buy Iceborne Gauntlets. You know, back in Season 2, I was playing Orianna top with Trinity Force. And that was pretty troll considering the base AD is shit, but I was stomping people. Orianna was just OP. Same here. Look at Thresh's armor. It doesn't scale with levels. That's why, like, Aftershock is pretty decent with this champion, because it's only based off of bonus armor, right? How many hours do you spend working at this time of year? Stream reviews, casting? Well, right now I'm up at 16 hours a day. 16 hours a day, 18 hours a day is what I'm doing right now. I'm just doing the grind, man. I'm just on the grind. I've been working in esports for 10 years, and the fear of becoming obsolete, like so many of my peers, is what drives me. And I don't think fear is a bad emotion. I think fear is a good emotion. We naturally, as people, feel fear in situations where our life is threatened. And it is to make sure that we act correctly in this time. And now, you know, there's so many people that I've known over time in esports that just throw their career away. And even though coming into next year, coming into the next few years, I'm pretty well fucking set up. But who fucking knows what's gonna happen? COVID hit, and that ruined some deals I had in mind. Vitality decided to go with Duke very late into November, and that was their choice too, and they had the freedom to exercise that. You never know what's gonna happen, right? So I'm going to fucking grind until I know that I can rest easy and know that my kingdom has been built. I'm surprised Pantheon is not being played more. Very surprised. The grind never stops. There's the Bard that we've been looking for, Unified, with a very nice stopwatch, but the Bard stun was also not timed good, but you can always stopwatch it anyway. Has it affected your health negatively? Maybe it will. Maybe there's a risk of me burning out, but I don't know. It's like, it's a risk that I'm willing to take. Yeah, it feels bad, but with the way they threw, they definitely don't deserve it. And in hindsight, giving up Infernals when you're the comp that scales worse is definitely rough. Whoa, what happened? The vote just ended. Apparently Senna can put 6 stacks of Black Cleave with just 2 autos in queue. You were fucking gone for that entire discussion. But yeah, we learned that today. I didn't know that the second portion of her attack counted as an on-hit effect. Which honestly makes Senna apply Black Cleaver pretty quickly. I didn't expect that. I thought she applied it slow. I think UOL is overrated. All the casters are hyping them like they're gonna make it top 16 at Worlds. You realize top 16 at Worlds is qualifying to Worlds, and UOL have good chances. They need to win a best of 5 against a team that is going to be low seed in Group A. Huh. Some of the shit you guys say cracks me up, man. Sometimes you have golden nuggets of information, like the Black Cleaver Stackeroni. I don't like the song, let's just move on. Very nice bowling here. The Leandre in the passive with Lilia, chunking no mans. Look at Kongyu, man. Look at the damage he does here. The true damage. Oosh. And then the GP ult, and then he just disappeared, man. He got snapped. There's some good Lilia play this game in team fights later. We don't see it that often. Renekton Pepega. Pepega. Renekton! No! Rise. Rise. Make them remember you. Push through hell and rise. Rise. I don't know how Tank and River are going to do. I don't think they're bad players, guys. Yeah, it's like Unicorns of Love went to first pick Renekton because they thought that it's gonna work again. But there was someone on the analyst desk that was talking about this special pick that would be so crucial. Who was it?
Can we have a quick recap of that turnaround from UOL, by the way?
Who was it?
History of and before they've cut.
And now they, if UOL were to
Who was it? Who mentioned GP?
Enjoy how big of a champion pool the jungler
seem to be revolving.
One can be seen as a team, so
Who was it?
4 comps are usually a lot easier to execute because the only thing you have targets or like.
Who is it? Who was
into
it?
this one. It's
last make it explosive uniform.
Who's this Chad?
Same reasons. I think there is some opportunity here when we think of champions that can fit the bill of Ornn. I'm kind of hoping Hanabi brings up his classic gangplank and they play into a strong side, bot side, make it explosive, unified, and Kaiwing are now together again. Make a game where you play for them and then maybe you have your best chances. But Unicorns of Love, I think, based off of the mold of what they showed in the last game, I think they can continue down the same trend and just, you know, win already in draft unless PSG shows something new.
hell yeah. All right, well, it does
Boom.
sound like we're
Holy. Yeah, amazing. It's really smart, man. Amazing with the prediction, guys. Holy shit. Man, the chat is wild.
to get in.
The chat is crazy.
Tank, or if they go for something like the
What is happening in the chat, bro? The chat is wild.
So difficult, so many options.
But you need to know where the Ziggs is going first.
Okay. Anyhow, that ends the review. It was kind of all over the place. Yeah, it is what it is. Yo, what's up with... That's so frustrating, man. I hope I don't get copyright struck because of that little part. In the name of God, in the name of God. Like, why did Powerwolves get started to play? Anyway, thank you so much for watching, guys. It was a fun game. I'm going to